And hello, everybody, and welcome here to this week's episode of Raw Review on the Yesterday Sports Channel. Today, we're going to be obviously reviewing the Monday Night Raw that took place for the 11th of April 2016. And I'm being joined by two guests, Anthony McCurry, Silver Machine 9000, and Kyle Matthews, NASCAR Fan 977. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
What's up?
All right. So last night's Monday Night Raw started out pretty much as we'd expect. Shane McMahon still around as the general manager, and he makes the announcement that there's going to be a tag team bracket that will be going on for the number one contenders for the titles. And then Kevin Owens comes out, apparently because of an announcement with Shane McMahon saying that Sami Zayn was going to take on AJ Styles since he was out of the Fatal 4-Way. The one question I have is, for you guys, first off, is I was expecting to see last week on SmackDown, possibly the Authority running that. It's almost like nobody's running SmackDown right now. We know Shane McMahon's kind of running Raw, but we don't know who's running SmackDown.
The old anonymous GM. Except he's on SmackDown now.
Exactly.
I don't get to see SmackDown a whole. I haven't got to see it the last couple of weeks, so I really don't know about that.
Yeah, I only get to watch SmackDown usually on replays and stuff. But I mean, I thought they were going to play an angle maybe with the Authority being in charge of SmackDown, Shane McMahon being in charge of Raw, and I thought that was going to lead to the whole brand split thing, which I think is still possibly going to happen with a couple of other things that happened last night. But, I mean, do you guys think that we're going to end up having Shane McMahon be in charge of both Raw and SmackDown, or are we going to have some random person be in charge of SmackDown, or is it just going to basically stay with, there's just some random person making the matches?
I think they're setting up for some sort of feud to where they'll officially decide who runs which show here. Because with Shane running Raw the last couple of weeks, I think the Authority's going to come back in a couple of weeks and set the whole thing up.
My theory is WWE knows that nobody cares about SmackDown. Because seriously, up until the last couple of weeks, I think is after the Royal Rumble, SmackDown had no point. If you think about it, SmackDown was a review show for Raw for half the show, and then the rest of it were matches for B to C Carters that botched their moves so much that they had to edit them out for SmackDown instead of having them on the live show. So, Enzo and Cass making their official in-ring debut this week on SmackDown, and like after in the last SmackDown they had I think Zack Ryder and The Miz had a pretty good championship match for the IC title last week on SmackDown. So SmackDown matches are getting less and less pointless ever since the brand split ended. But as far as a brand split goes, by the way, Shane McMahon coming back, in the famous words of somebody on What Culture, I thought that Shane McMahon was only running the one show, but wait a second. He's running this show, so basically that makes that Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania pointless.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But wait a second. If they're going to this, but hold on a second. They're going based off of social media feedback from the fans. But if they really were looking at social media back from the fans, Roman Reigns would be in the position of Damien Sandow, and Damien Sandow would be in the position of Roman Reigns. So, as far as that goes, yeah, that Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania was pointless, and Shane McMahon's probably going to be back next week. So as far as that goes,
so Shane almost killed himself for no reason.
Well,
much.
yeah, the whole thing, and I said this during the WrestleMania wrap up, is that I believe that Shane McMahon was chosen to fight the Undertaker because it was almost the same kind of scenario when Shawn Michaels broke his back and he came back. They were going to have him go up against Vince McMahon because with battling Vince McMahon, Shawn Michaels could work at his own pace. I think that with the Undertaker getting up in age, so that way he still would be able to, with John Cena being injured, he'll still be able to then go out against John Cena next year at WrestleMania. That they put him with Shane McMahon, so that way the Undertaker could be able to work at his own pace. Why they threw the angle in of Shane McMahon getting Monday Night Raw if he beat The Undertaker, I'm not certain, because it kind of then left the question of, okay, he didn't beat The Undertaker, yet he's running Monday Night Raw. Doesn't make sense. But
Well, they made it a little bit confusing. It's like, at first, all we heard is, if you can run Raw if you have just one match. So it's like, okay, so he just has to have the match? Does he have to win it, or what? So, and then I think they threw in a couple like a week or two later, yeah, you have to win the match.
Yeah.
Here's what I think they did. WWE needed to fill the card, so they put that match in.
With so
WWE,
many injuries,
well,
yeah.
WWE needed to fill the card. Good lord, that whole pay-per-view was like what 6-7 hours, and I was talking when I did WrestleMania wrap up with Levi. We were saying there were like 3 or 4 matchups, and the whole pre-show you could have eliminated, and then you would have had a good WrestleMania.
The Rock segment went on for like half an hour.
I know.
I think that was the most pointless part of the show. I mean, it's great to see The Rock, but he stood on the stage and bounced around and put his own name on fire for like 15 minutes.
Oh man.
Like, come on, guys. The show is. I mean, you on your website you had the slot from 7. What was it? 7 to 11 p.m. on WWE Network, which is what I watch it on.
Yep.
And then I get to 11 p.m. and The Rock is still in the ring and we still have a championship match. I'm like, well, my night's screwed up now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
Maybe
man.
maybe it's because everybody knew the main event was so predictable, they had to throw something else in there.
That could be. That could be.
That was a pretty. Let's be honest, it wasn't a great main event. It was on par with Cena versus The Miz at 27, but as far as how terrible we thought it was going to be, it's not really that bad. Plus, Triple H's entrance, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean the match was okay, but we knew it was going to happen, and so the rage happened and everything. But anyway,
The fans crapped all over the match from the very get go.
yeah, because they knew there was no way Triple H was coming out of that matchup winning. Everybody knew. But so we had Kevin Owens confronting Shane McMahon then after Shane McMahon made the announcement that there was going to be a battle between Sami Zayn and AJ Styles, and if Sami Zayn won, it would then be a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Reigns versus Styles versus Sami Zayn. So Owens comes out and says that he should have a rematch for the Intercontinental title. And then Shane McMahon says, okay, you have to earn it by defeating this guy for the number 1 contendership. And it ended up being the returning Cesaro, who, of course, we saw the previous Monday Night Raw last week. To me, they had actually a pretty decent matchup.
Oh yeah, it was a great match. I'm one of the Cesaro fanboys. Any match that Cesaro's in, I'm with him. I'm in that Cesaro section. So, I think that they're trying to push Cesaro because Tyson Kidd is probably out for good after that after the updated injury because he almost snapped his back in half. So I'm thinking that Tyson Kidd's probably not ever gonna come back. So they're not gonna have that tag team with Cesaro and Kidd anymore. So they're gonna push Cesaro as a singles wrestler and have him going after the IC title. That's okay. I can deal with that. So I thought the match was great. The right guy won is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Cesaro and Kevin Owens, when they had that feud in the middle of last year, I don't think they ever had a bad match together.
No, I don't think they did either. And to be honest, here's the thing that I love. It wasn't typical WWE because they're starting to catch on. They're starting to figure out what they need to do to have a good show because right from the get-go, we knew Cesaro had that injury to his shoulder, and so you're thinking, okay, there's going to be something where Cesaro's going to have this flurry, and then all of a sudden the injury is going to come into play, and Kevin Owens is going to capitalize. But they actually had the injured Cesaro win, which shocked me.
Really? It shocked you?
Yeah, it actually did, because it's such a typical WWE angle. Guy is face, guy has injury, guy ends up having a flurry. It looks like he's on the brink of winning. Injury comes into play, and then heel ends up winning the matchup. And it didn't happen that way. It was not typical WWE fashion from what I'm used to it being. And it was like one of those matches where I actually had the prediction incorrect.
Well, I think they're trying to get Kevin Owens out of the Intercontinental title picture to set up this feud with Sami Zayn. I mean, they've been playing up to it since the Royal Rumble, so
Right.
I think that's really what the whole thing is about.
And one of the matches later in the night actually confirmed that because they're like, oh, we're going to make this a triple threat match if Sami Zayn wins against AJ Styles. And I know we're going to get to more details than that, but again, the right guy won in that one too, and we'll get to that later.
Yep, we'll get to that. All right, so next matchup was a tag team matchup for the bracket. We'll be showing the bracket momentarily, but we don't want to spoil the winners for those that haven't seen Monday Night Raw. The Dudley Boys going up against the Lucha Dragons, and Kalisto, the United States champion, gets some kind of an injury, and now kind of throws into question where that's all going to go, if Kalisto may end up having to give up the title or something like that. I don't know if there was any feedback of, like the aftermath of on Raw of Kalisto's injury or not, but I don't know. It could throw into question what's going to happen with the U.S. title.
Uh, my theory is if he has to drop it, then drop it to his teammate. Give it to
Sin Cara.
yeah, Sin Cara. Even though the Sin Cara has been played by two different people in WWE, I mean Sin Cara botches his moves and whatnot. The new Sin Cara doesn't, but the old one did. Sin Cara's got that fan base. Everyone likes seeing Sin Cara. It's like, oh, the kids, they like seeing the guy in the mask doing all the flips and tricks and whatnot. So, I mean, drop your lowest title to the guy who's been in the company for a while, and don't give it to Ryback because Ryback's better than that. You don't want to give Ryback a run at the U.S. title. Give it to Sin Cara. It's basically this. It's basically a taller Kalisto, and there you go. Problem solved.
Never
Well,
thought of that.
Well, let me throw three names out to you. Now you mentioned Sin Cara, but let me throw three other names out to you that I think could be possible. United States Championship contenders. Possibly Apollo Crews.
Okay, yeah.
Possibly Tyler Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one's kind of an iffy, but maybe one of the members of the Social Outcast, maybe someone like a Heath Slater.
Well, yeah, I forgot that last week we had the NXT guys take over Raw, so I forgot all about them.
I mean, you might see someone like Baron Corbin, but I kind of think they have more planned for him than a U.S. title reign.
I mean,
So
he won a match at WrestleMania, and you want to give him the U.S. title?
exactly, yeah,
So, and he eliminated Kane to win that match, by the way.
yeah.
I'd like to see Zack Ryder getting the running for that. I think he kind of got screwed there after scoring that huge upset in the ladder match, then having only to drop it the next night.
Well, I'm almost wondering if that was kind of like a last hurrah for Zack Ryder. I don't know. It just kind of seemed to me like they gave him like one last little high moment, and then that may be it for him. I don't know.
I heard somewhere that was actually a botched finish, and Miz was actually supposed to win the championship, and Zack was like, "Nah, screw it," and pushed him off.
Are you serious?
Really?
Because I want just go back and watch the film. Okay, if it was scripted, I know that Miz has been in a lot of movies, so he may have rehearsed how he was gonna look before that. But he looked that. Let's be honest, that looked like that was the end of the match. Like that was your camera shot, and it's over. It's done. Forget about it. And the way the camera was zooming into Miz's face, they're getting ready for that money shot, and then as soon as Zack Ryder comes running up the ladder, like the cameras scramble and they're trying to catch it, and then Zack pushes him off, and the look on Miz's face was like, "Oh my God, I'm falling now." And, and then Zack rips it down, and the cameras are scrambling to get him, and it just seemed a little. It seemed a little suspicious. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man. All right, so okay, go ahead, Kyle.
I was about to say, no, I don't think Miz was supposed to win that match.
I mean,
I
that's
think
just.
they wanted a feel good story to come out of that match, and I think that's why Ryder ended up getting it.
That was just me with my tinfoil hat on, eight black helicopters.
Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah.
So the Dudleys end up defeating the Lucha Dragons, pretty much with the help of that injury that Kalisto sustained. And I just want to say this was the worst match of the night because they botched the 3D twice! Not once, but twice!
I forgot about that.
It was like, are you kidding me?
You've done this for how many years and then you fail at the 3D?
Oh my goodness, it was the worst finish I'd ever seen to a matchup that whole night. And I mean, okay, it was like, wow. The first one, Devon completely missed the cue. And Sin Cara's just kind of like standing there like, what happened? And then Bubba Ray's like, swing him off the ropes. It's like, I have to tell you how to do this now.
I think they're missing the table. That's all.
I think that's exactly what it was.
Or maybe they were just so, maybe they were concerned for Kalisto. I mean, maybe that could have shaken everybody up. Who knows?
It might have, I don't know, but in the end, the Dudleys end up defeating the Lucha Dragons, which I'm almost wondering. Here's a possibility. Were the Lucha Dragons maybe supposed to win that thing, and then Kalisto's injury, and now the Dudley Boys end up winning? Because, that's a possibility,
Mm-hmm.
But it'll all depend now on whether Enzo and Cass end up winning their matchup on SmackDown against the Ascension. Because if they do, then that sets up the Enzo Cass versus Dudley Boyz feud. So there's a possibility that the Lucha Dragons were supposed to win, but now we're set up for the possible feud that everybody's been waiting for, because Enzo and Cass came out after the matchup was over and did their own little verbal battling again, like they did 1 week ago. So
I mean, the Enzo and Cass thing seemed to be a little too scripted to have the Lucha Dragons actually win. But again, because Enzo and Cass usually just ad lib their whole segments, they did that on NXT. They I don't think they ever had a script. They just would ad lib. Uh,
Best
they
way to
would
do it.
they would they probably, if let's say that Kalisto hadn't hurt himself and the Dragons were supposed to win, I think what would have happened then is they would have came out and started either doing one of two things. They would have done what they did to the Dudley Boys, except the Lucha Dragons, or vice versa. They would have, or not vice versa, but or they would have smack talked the Dudley Boys about how you've been in this business so long and you just got beat by a couple of midgets with masks on.
or maybe come
So,
out and run distraction during the matchup.
or that. But then Kalisto hurt himself, so I mean Enzo and Cass. If that was the case, Enzo and Cass played the part of flipping the scripts really easy. But
Right.
and kudos to them for playing it up like professionals. But if the Dudleys were supposed to win, then it was still a good segment at the end.
Oh yeah.
So moving on to the next part, Roman Reigns comes out again. Another promo by Roman Reigns. We all were in for a treat. Anyway, anyway,
I'm not a bad guy. I'm not
not
a
a good guy. I'm the guy.
Now let's all hug and sing Kumbaya.
And he had to come out and remind us that if AJ Styles didn't beat Sami Zayn, it'd be a triple threat match for the title, as if we didn't already know that. But the League of Nations then decide to come out, not 4, but 3 now, because Wade Barrett is gone. So now it's Rusev, Alberto Del Rio, who still saunters to the ring like he feels that he has nothing to do. And I swear, he's just la-di-da-di-da, I'm here. I love his attitude. It's so funny. And then, of course, Sheamus. And they go to confront Roman Reigns, and lo and behold, here come the Wyatt family with Bray, Eric Rowan, and Braun Strowman. And we end up getting an announcement that the main event is going to be 2 members of the League of Nations versus Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns. Are you kidding me?
Talk
That
about the
was-
odd couple.
That was... It's like,
Confusing.
wow, you're putting one of these mismatch kind of things together again. Thank you. Because
That was-
think back. The Wyatt family versus the Shield. It's like all that history there. It's perfect.
That personal feud that Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns had last summer.
I know. I was like, yes.
It was kind of confusing though, because what? I know the Wyatt's getting into business at that just seemingly out of nowhere, but I mean, I know the history is there, but I'm just like, huh? Bray Wyatt actually competing in a match, number one.
Yeah, right, exactly. Wow, he's actually he's not gonna sit in a rocking chair on the side
I
anymore.
was thinking it's like, okay, it's gonna be League of Nations versus, it was gonna be all 3 League of Nations versus Roman Reigns and then Harper and Strowman, but then it was like, nah, Bray's actually gonna be in the match. I'm like, okay, I can dig it.
No complaints.
No complaints.
When the League of Nations came out, did anybody else notice that they got a pretty big pop from the crowd when they went out to go after Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I noticed that. It's like, yay, they're gonna beat him up.
Finally, somebody cheers the bad guy.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Uh,
So moving on to the next matchup, but first we have to mention the fact that there was a special guest on Raw, Dr. Phil, and he confronts Charlotte and Ric Flair. That was actually, Dr. Phil, I don't watch it, but man, he did an awesome job in that segment there. He was perfect in that.
Oh
that was almost CM Punk Mike Pike
It
bomb.
was, and I wouldn't have expected it out of Dr. Phil, really, to be honest with you. I thought, it's kind of a little monotone, little boring. I've seen a couple of Dr. Phil episodes, but not many, and so I'm thinking this is going to be your typical Raw guest star who's going to, cheese it up and not really act realistic, and he really did. And the thing I loved was I watched Dr. Phil and I watched what he said, and I swear I saw Levi McIntyre's face because every single thing that he said was what Levi said in the WrestleMania wrap-up. Every single thing about Ric Flair getting involved, how he's the one that's hindering Charlotte showing what kind of talent she has. I was like, are you kidding me? I think Levi just messaged Dr. Phil and told him what to say or something.
Or either that, or we're looking at what CM Punk looks like in 50 years.
Oh Lord, please no.
So Levi got a big paycheck last night, is what
I guess he did. Yeah, I think he got royalties out of whatever Dr. Phil said. So Dr. Phil comes out to the ring and observes the matchup for a championship, no less, between Charlotte and Natalya. Someone please explain to me how Natalya even got a championship match. The whole last week's Monday Night Raw with Natalya confronting Charlotte, that whole thing, it did not make any sense to me whatsoever. But okay, we got ourselves a matchup, and it ends up being a disqualification with Ric Flair pulling the referee out. I don't know. Just kind of seemed again like another matchup that we really didn't need.
A side note. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to say, before the DQ finish, I thought that was a really good match leading up.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
On a side note, where the heck is Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch at?
I have no idea. No clue.
So the way that championship titles work in WWE, or the way they want you to think is how they work, is you have a rematch clause. So that means that both of those people have a rematch clause.
That's
Why
only,
did
That's
Natalya?
that's only if you're the champion
Yeah.
and lose the title.
so
They-
essentially Triple
Oh, that's
H.
right. Never mind. That's
So,
right.
According to that, Triple H actually has a rematch clause against
Right,
Roman Reigns.
right. And Kevin Owens has a rematch clause still for he should have had a rematch clause, to be honest, but I guess he's lost it now because of that matchup with him and Cesaro. But
But we're wanting WWE to be consistent. That's just asking too much.
I'm very confused here because it's like, okay, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, those are the two women that were going up against you at WrestleMania. That was probably I'll be honest, it was a toss up between that and the ladder match, but I think that the women's championship match at WrestleMania was probably the best match of the night,
I
my
agree.
opinion. It felt like an NXT match,
Mhm.
and I like NXT matches.
they
So-
let them do what they wanted to do.
Exactly. They were like, don't be a diva. Be like be like you were on NXT. Pretend that this is like NXT Takeover, and just do a takeover match. And they did, and it was awesome, and the crowd loved it, and I loved it until Ric Flair, and then die Ric Flair.
They're revamping the whole division, from the Divas title to the women's title. I mean, they're changing even the way that the matches are
Well,
ran now. So.
they changed that one match. Let's be honest. The match, well, technically that was still a Divas match, but still the Divas match is it's just if you're gonna have these are now women's wrestlers. I mean, with the with all the women coming up from NXT, sure, but I think they should probably tell Alicia Fox to quit being Alicia Fox. If that's
Well,
the case.
I think the Divas matches kind of left after WrestleMania because Brie Bella has announced that she's retiring. So that was Brie Bella was, to be honest, kind of like the leader of the whole Total Divas kind of thing. So now with her retiring, I kind of think you're going to see that go away.
I think all the previous divas that, no, not Natty, because Natty technically came in, like in that awkward transition where they had the divas and the women's championship. So, leave her. She's fine. But like every other women's wrestler that came in after the whole women's wrestling dies, and now it's the Divas Championship, which was the dumbest idea in WWE history. I think they need to either be like, okay, guys need to go, or you need to not be a diva anymore.
What was it? Triple H said, "Evolve or perish."
Yeah, evolve or perish. That was a famous line he said towards the Shield. And
Yep.
guess what happened? Seth Rollins happened.
Here's
And
here's the thing I want to know too. You mentioned the Sasha Banks and the Becky Lynch thing. Bayley's dropped the title to Asuka. Why isn't Bayley up on the main roster yet?
my question is why not? Because she's been in NXT a while, but technically speaking, she also has a rematch clause for that championship, so we could see an Asuka versus Bayley feud because Bayley really doesn't have anyone on her level in NXT right now aside from Asuka.
Well, that's true, but the only thing that kind of confuses me is, you had the four horsewomen: Bayley, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Charlotte. Three of those four are up on the main roster. They took part in a championship match at WrestleMania. I thought that Bayley, we were going to see who was she going to lose the title to. It ends up being Asuka, which made me think, okay, she's lost the title. Now we're probably going to see her up on the main roster. I actually fully expected to see Bayley come out during the Women's Championship presentation on Monday Night Raw. I really thought that was going to happen, and it didn't happen, and I was actually really shocked. So, you might be right that she may be getting a rematch clause against Asuka, but to me, I think that, quite honestly, Asuka should now take over the position Bayley had at NXT and move Bayley up to the main roster.
Well, payback is a coming, so.
And last week during that whole presentation, you had the entire crowd chanting for Bayley. Then you had Michael Cole had to ruin the whole thing, but Bayley isn't here.
Yeah, exactly. And
thanks for killing the surprise.
exactly. Well, sometimes they say that, and then it ends up being someone comes out. But it was like, afterwards? It's like, why did you tell us that?
Well,
So
let's not also forget that Sami Zayn came onto the main roster and fought John Cena, got injured, and went back to NXT before he actually went up to the main roster. So they may just be waiting for Bayley the right time. I think what's going to happen is that when we get closer to Payback, or even after Payback, and we're heading into Extreme Rules, that I think Bayley may come up after this whole fiasco with the Ric Flair deal and whatnot. I don't know. The women's wrestling is in a really confusing state right now.
it is. It's in a very strange transition.
I think it's on the right track, though.
I think it is too. I think it's on the right track. It's just they got to work out some of the kinks for it to get to where they want it to be. Moving on, we end up having our second matchup and our last matchup of the evening for the number one contendership tournament for the tag team titles. The Usos versus Heath Slater and Curtis Axel of the Social Outcasts. Not much you can really say about this matchup because you knew it was just going to be quirky with the four of the Social Outcasts doing their thing. But the Usos end up winning. But then you got Gallows and Anderson of the Bullet Club. They make their debut on the Raw roster.
I smell a little plot thicken.
Although I'm a little surprised it would end up being the Usos that they would start out against. I don't know. I kind of saw them maybe going more against the Ascension, maybe the Dudley Boys.
Hold on a second. I wanna point this out. Who else was a Bullet Club member? AJ Styles.
Right.
Who is he fighting for the WWE Championship?
Roman Reigns.
Who is related to Roman Reigns?
Usos.
Who else is a member of Bullet Club?
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
You see where I'm going? If Bullet Club's getting back together, AJ Styles is going to turn heel. Guarantee it. 100%.
So we're going to be seeing... So you're kind of predicting somewhere in the future Roman Reigns and the Usos versus AJ Styles and the Bullet Club.
Yes, I am.
Okay. I can
dig
that. I can dig it.
The Samoans versus the Bullet Club.
I've heard rumors that the Bullet Club was going to interfere in the AJ Styles Roman Reigns match and cost Reigns the title.
Well,
Ooh.
There you go. Start with the Usos. Send the message.
Well, here's one thing I said too was AJ Styles, he's doing an okay job with playing the face, but when he was in TNA, when he turned to the heel role, he was unbelievable, and I said I would love to see him turn heel in WWE because I really think he can carry that off. If the Bullet Club's here and Styles turns heel and they end up putting the Bullet Club faction together with those three, I think AJ Styles is going to be unbelievable on the microphone.
I think Bullet Club is just gonna be the new Shield.
Exactly. Hey, that wouldn't bother me.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool with that.
So speaking of AJ Styles, let's move into the next matchup: Styles versus Sami Zayn. And if Sami Zayn wins, he's going to end up getting a shot at being in a triple threat match against Styles and Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. We knew what was going to happen here because Kyle, to your point back when we were talking about Cesaro versus Kevin Owens, they had to kind of free Kevin Owens from the Intercontinental title battle to have him have the feud with Sami Zayn. They really couldn't put Sami Zayn in the title hunt in order for him to continue the feud with Kevin Owens. So, AJ Styles beats Sami Zayn, but I thought they had one heck of a matchup.
Absolutely, and we have to remember before that match even started, about I don't know half hour or so before the match, we saw a segment between Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens where Shane had Kevin Owens thrown out of the building so he couldn't interfere.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the one that I thought was amazing, and I loved. Probably, I don't really care for what's his name, Byron Buxton or whatever. Saxton, Byron Saxton. I don't really care for his commentary, but that one point when they were gonna do the sunset flip and Sami Zayn landed on his feet, but his reaction killed me. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" He had a voice crack and everything. It was great.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, the right guy won the match.
Yeah.
That sets up KO versus SZ at probably Payback.
Yeah.
And dude, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great match. The crowd loves the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn rivalry. It's a rivalry that came over from NXT. They came onto the main roster. Kevin Owens came onto the main roster a little bit earlier, and then when Sami Zayn actually came onto the main roster, everyone's like, "Oh!" So now we're gonna finally see the Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens singles match without any other reason or interference or whatever. It's going to be a straight fight between those two at Payback probably, or maybe even Extreme Rules. Who knows? They're setting that up perfectly, and kudos to WWE because usually they're like when the fans want to see more than one person go for the WWE Championship, they always seem to be like, okay, we'll make it a triple threat or a fatal four way, or we're gonna cop out and make it what is it, an elimination chamber match. You get 6 people and you get the gimmick of the chamber. It's like, nah, we're gonna have them lose,
Yep.
because we have something else for him that's you're probably gonna like better than
Yeah, which is what they should do. It's exactly what they need to do. Is they need to have wrestlers lose matchups in order to be able to put together better matchups, which is one thing that they really weren't doing before. They were trying to just appease everybody by okay, we'll put him in the matchup, we'll put him in the matchup, and they didn't do very good in transitioning them into those matchups.
No. Also, Sami Zayn, how are you not dead today?
Yeah, really.
Jeez, man, you hit that. You hit your head hard. I'm surprised, dude. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh God, I hope he's okay." But he like flipped over and he kept going like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, how in the world are you standing?
I thought he was gonna land on his neck. And
I thought he was too.
I
I
thought
thought
we
he
were
was too. That was.
So we were gonna have Brock Lesnar 2.0.
Oh, no, please. All right, so moving on to the next thing, we end up having the highlight reel with Chris Jericho. And, of course, Chris Jericho interviewing one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, himself. I knew where that was going. He's like, my guy is the best. And I'm like, yeah, you're just going to interview yourself, get it over with, forget the promo. But then Dean Ambrose comes out with a written note from Shane McMahon that the highlight reel is now the Ambrose Asylum. And I love Dean Ambrose on the microphone. I love how he ad-libs the stuff. He is, to me, the way that he carries it off. I mean, he's not cheesy like the New Day, who I think are also great on the mic, but he's not cheesy like them. He does it all with a straight face, which makes it the humor all the better.
Oh, yeah.
But the only thing that I'm wondering now is we ended up having him hit Chris Jericho with dirty deeds. Is this supposed to be setting up a Chris Jericho versus Dean Ambrose feud? Because if so, I'm not really sure if I'm into that.
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I was about to say. I read somewhere where originally that was supposed to be a WrestleMania feud here between Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose, but for some reason things got changed to where Jericho feuded with Styles, and then you had Ambrose feuding with Brock Lesnar. So I think they're making up for it right now.
Uh, it, is it just me, or is Chris Jericho, is the older he gets, the cheesier he gets?
Yeah.
Is that because he came out to the ring and he's doing the whole his mic skills? I mean, I know he's used to talking in front of a lot of people and he's used to doing all that. I mean, because after all, he's also in a band,
Right.
so he's used to all the mic skills. And I've seen him talk at bands, and I mean, like seriously, talk to the crowd during his live performances when he's with Fozzy, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, Chris Jericho. And then he goes to WWE. I'm like, dude, what happened between Fozzy and Raw? But it's I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like this match. Dean Ambrose. They're seemingly putting Dean Ambrose against anybody. And it wouldn't surprise me if they put Dean Ambrose against the New Day just by himself in a chainsaw. But uh, it just seems like they want to throw everyone at Dean Ambrose or put Dean Ambrose in the middle of everybody. And I mean, Dean Ambrose is cool, and you could do that because his character is interesting. It's diverse. You can throw him in pretty much everything because he really doesn't have an end goal. He just kind of wants to hurt people. So
Well, here's
okay.
here's my thing. I mean, the lead up to WrestleMania was looking like it was going to be pretty good with Ambrose versus Lesnar. You had Terry Funk giving him a chainsaw, even though we knew that really wasn't going to come into play. But then you had Barbie come into play, given by Mick Foley, and then all that stuff only had cameo appearances for maybe 10 seconds or so, and they ended up having Brock Lesnar win the matchup, which really surprised me too. Because, if it was a one-on-one regular matchup between Lesnar and Ambrose, okay, I'm fine with Ambrose losing. But the fact you throw weapons into play, that gives an advantage to Dean Ambrose. So, after WrestleMania, everybody was saying, come on, throw Dean a bone. Well, now he's going up against Chris Jericho, who in the last two WrestleMania matches, one, he ended up putting over Fandango, and then he ended up...
Which made no sense.
Which made no sense. And then he ends up defeating AJ Styles, which again made no sense, although now it leads up to AJ Styles being able to move on from that feud and be able to go up against Roman Reigns for the title. But I don't see Chris Jericho as throwing a bone to Ambrose. You got to put someone in there, to me, that is your current superstar, like maybe an Antonio Cesaro, maybe somebody like Kevin Owens. I know that they got their own feuds going on, but Chris Jericho is kind of stepping into now the WWE legend status rather than, your main event wrestler. And I don't see this as really throwing Dean Ambrose a bone, giving him what he really deserves in any kind of a matchup at all.
Maybe if Jericho was holding a title and
Yeah,
you
if
know,
exactly, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Make him feud with Kalisto. At least it's something.
Yeah, exactly. I swear to you, he would put on a better match with Kalisto than Ryback did.
oh yeah,
Two high flyers. Go for it, man.
Yeah. I mean, why couldn't they do that? I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
understand.
Ambrose is the most over guy on the roster. I mean, everybody just goes ballistic when his music hits.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Brock Lesnar's also a contender for that.
Which I don't understand why Lesnar would be, but that's a whole
Because
different
it's Brock.
subject.
It's
Okay.
Brock
Whoa. Let's revise that, Anthony. The only two times that Lesnar gets that kind of a pop like Dean Ambrose is if he comes out against John Cena or if he comes out against Roman Reigns.
Right.
Fair enough.
That's the only two times because they know that he's gonna beat him up.
I'm just
Fair
gonna go
enough.
on record here. I've said this when it hasn't been recorded, but I think not Roman Reigns, but Brock Lesnar is very boring and overrated to watch. I did not understand why people love the guy.
The only matchup I really enjoyed watching him in was when they had him, John Cena, and Seth Rollins in that triple threat match. I enjoyed watching that one. But when it's on one-on-one matchups, mostly all that happens are suplexes. It gets kind of boring. But when you had all that action going on with the high flying, the power of Cena, the high flying of Rollins, and then Brock Lesnar in the mix, that was actually entertaining. But I agree with you. Lesnar is kind of like a 2 or 3 move guy. That's basically it.
I didn't know that Brock Lesnar had a good match since 2003. I don't know what you're talking about. I just like seeing the dude beat people up with a stick.
All right, so let's move into the next matchup, which we're not really going to talk that much about. We already knew what was going to happen. Apollo Crews going up against Adam Rose of the Social Outcasts. Just another opportunity for Apollo Crews to be able to showcase what he has as he continues on, in his debuting into the WWE main roster. Apollo Crews wins the matchup. Not really much we can really say about that, and we've already touched on Apollo Crews maybe going after the United States title. So let's move into the main event, which was Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, with no Wyatt family coming out, surprisingly enough. And they go up against Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. And I'm hearing an echo.
It's probably Kyle.
I think it was Kyle, but I'm not sure. Not hearing it now though. So we have Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, and Rusev actually does come out to the ring with them. This matchup to me really was good. I loved it. I loved the kind of hesitancy you had between Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, but yet it was like a common goal kind of thing going up against the two. And then you have Rusev getting involved. The Wyatt family come out. They beat up Rusev, and the matchup ends with Bray Wyatt winning the thing. And the thing that I love too, more often than not in a matchup, if somebody tries to get involved and break up the pin, then the other guy comes in, they'll like push him over the rope or something. But you had Bray Wyatt hit Sister Abigail and Alberto Del Rio, and then when Sheamus tries to get involved, he gets speared and the count is still going on. I'm like, yes, this is perfect. This is just what they needed to have.
Yeah, the match was okay. Well, it was better than okay. It was a good match. By 2015, 2016 Raw standards, it was really good. I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I don't have really any complaints about the match.
No, I don't either. I don't
The
either.
only complaint I have about the match was Roman Reigns was in it.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean,
we can't have everything, Anthony.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out two things. One, what was the point that everyone started booing Roman Reigns? And number two, why is it so much fun?
Basically, I think the biggest reason why the whole hating on Roman Reigns has been going on is because they hyped him up too much as being a relative of The Rock.
Oh, that's...
I mean-
yeah.
You know how they are hating Charlotte right now because her father's getting involved? I think it's the same deal. They're relying too much on the legacy than they are on the actual talent. And they pushed Roman Reigns so much with being The Rock's cousin that it really, I think people are like, okay, so they're trying to make a new John Cena. Which, to be honest, is what they're doing. They're trying to make a new John Cena. They're trying to make a hero that everybody can look up to, that kind of a thing. And that's why people aren't liking it, because they're basically telling him what to be rather than letting him be what he could be, which quite honestly could be a little bit better than, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Brock Lesnar kind of persona.
I think that they should make him heel. But
Yeah, exactly. He would carry off a heel role really good.
Lord.
yeah, and it would be pretty simple. He can go out there and say, well, you people turned on me, or you people never accepted me, so then he'll go out there and just start insulting the crowd.
Well,
And
here's
then-
here's the thing too. Here's the thing. If they're gonna turn him heel, probably for the most part, they shouldn't let him be on the mic though, because he played the, if you will, kind of heel role with Well, yeah, he did play the heel role with the Shield. And how often did he do the talking on the mic as opposed to Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins? Not very much. He basically was the one that beat people up. So, to me, if you don't have him talking and you have his actions speaking more than him on the mic, then you've got a perfect heel role for Roman Reigns.
Or you can get one of the Usos to be his advocate, like Paul Heyman is to Lesnar,
My client, Roman Reigns!
who is also my cousin.
Oh, what if Roman Reigns became a Paul Heyman guy? That would be awesome!
Oh my.
Have
God.
Paul Heyman do the talking for Roman Reigns. That would fit
Ladies and
awesomely.
gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for one Roman Reigns.
That would be a great fit.
I'm
That-
starting to wonder with this whole change in like character a little bit for Roman Reigns, where he's going out there saying, "Oh, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy." I'm starting to think, is this the start of a heel turn? Making him sound kind of arrogant, kind of cocky, or is this just trying to make him come across as a badass? I don't know.
I don't know. Possibly the only thing though that would kind of make me wonder about that is what was being said earlier with the Bullet Club coming in to have maybe AJ Styles back. AJ's more than likely going to turn heel. So if they had a heel versus heel going up for the title, say at Payback, that would actually be okay. But I almost wonder if with the possible transition of AJ Styles going to a heel, if they would even bother to put Roman Reigns as a heel. I don't know.
Who knows? All I know is that the whole I'm not a good guy, bad guy, I'm the guy thing, that could work. That they're trying to make him neutral so the fans may not boo him so
It's
much.
not going to work.
It's not
No.
working. It's it works on TV if you're watching SmackDown and they edit in cheers instead of boos.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin Dunn.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Seriously, I was watching SmackDown the other day, and Roman Reigns came out, and it's like, there's a lot of cheers and a few boos, but I'm like, if Raw was any indication, this has been heavily edited. They probably took some cheers from, say, Cesaro's return and mixed it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know.
There's some
Giving 'em the Hulk
shenanigans
Hogan
going on at
treatment.
WWE right now.
By the way, while we're continuing to talk about this, I mentioned that I was going to put up the number one contenders tag team tournament bracket so people could see it. So you got the Usos defeating the Social Outcasts. They'll take on either the Golden Truth or the Vaudeville Villains. We'll see them in action on SmackDown. The Lucha Dragons, of course, losing to the Dudley Boys. They move on to either take on the Ascension or Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I think we basically know that Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore are going to win their matchup versus the Ascension because the Ascension are basically just jobbers now. But the Golden Truth versus the Vaudevillains, I mean, what do you think? Are we going to see R-Truth and Goldust, or are we going to see the Vaudevillains move up against the Usos?
I think the golden. I think the Golden Truth is going to be like the new Team Hell No, like two, like what's the word I'm looking for to describe the two, like unstable or something.
Kind of like a Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns deal.
Yeah, it's like, and they've been building up to this for months. So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a lot of it.
Regardless of who wins that matchup, though, I think they're going to defeat the Usos because with that Bullet Club attack, it definitely looks like, I don't know which one of the Usos it was, but they ran his shoulder first into the corner of the steel guardrail, and then they ran it into the steel steps. I think that injury is really going to play a big factor into their matchup. I guess it's going to be on Raw or something, but I think that's going to play a huge factor into it.
I think the Vaudevillains are going to walk out of that match as moving on to the next round, only because we haven't seen the Golden Truth really do anything except argue.
Yeah.
So
Nothing but promos, basically.
yeah, promos, really awkward backstage promos, really difficult to watch promos featuring gay innuendos and cake. Let's never talk about this. Enzo and Cass is gonna win against the Ascension, calling it right now.
Kill that tag team along with Ric Flair.
Yeah. Go ahead, kill. Yeah, let's add a death toll to the WWE roster. Golden Truth and Ric Flair. That's what we're up to right now.
So
They got off everybody today here.
so the thing I gotta ask you guys now is a big question that Levi and I touched on back during the WrestleMania wrap up, and I also covered it on last week's Raw review. We've got so many people coming up here. Apollo Crews has made his way up. The Vaudeville Villains, Enzo and Cass, Cesaro is back. With all this happening, do you guys see in the future? It's been rumored. It hasn't been confirmed. Do you guys see a brand split going on?
Yes.
Yes, I do, and for one very huge reason. Let's say eventually, and I don't know if this is going to happen. I know of one that's coming back, but I don't know about the other one. John Cena made his return
Right.
at WrestleMania. I don't know if he'll actually rejoin the roster anytime soon. He still looked like he wasn't in shape to wrestle.
No, they said he was still hurt. JBL alluded to that he's still hurt.
Right.
He is on the road to recovery though, but
Right.
I think there's going to be a couple weeks still we see him back in the ring.
Right. So here's my theory, and I hope WWE, if you're listening, make this happen. Do it better. What happens is John Cena returns around the same time that Randy Orton is supposed to make his return because he's also injured. Everyone seems to forget that Randy Orton's also out injured.
Yep.
So Randy Orton's set to make his return sometime late May, early June. If John Cena comes back around that same time, I think they'll build it up to maybe a John Cena versus Randy Orton angle where
Gee, we've never seen that before.
Hmm.
yeah, but think about it this way. They merged the titles. Remember that? One was the World Heavyweight Champion, one was the WWE Champion. Now they'll feud against each other, but one will lead Raw, one will lead SmackDown, and it will enter the brand split.
Hmm.
One
The only thing I would wonder about is when the brand split was going on, we ended up having the two titles. We ended up having the heavyweight championship and the WWE championship. Now they've been unified. How difficult is it going to be to end up having something like that where you have two brands but really one main title between the two brands?
Hmm.
Well, the only solution to that is my theory would be then you would split the title again. That's the only thing that I would see that would be able to work because you can't really have the women's champion be, or you could, I guess, have the women's champion be the top of SmackDown and whatnot, but that would only limit it to the women wrestlers, which there's a big roster of those anyway.
Right.
So they could do that for a while, and then it would get to the point where maybe at like Survivor Series or something like that, that they would say, okay, we have two brands again. We need to have another title, and they would debut a title, and then they would have a Survivor Series uh, uh, tournament or whatever to get that title at Survivor Series. So then SmackDown would have its champion. Who knows what they would do? This is all just me talking out of my butt right now, but if they were going to do a brand split, why not do it with the two guys that kind of unified it, which would be Randy Orton and John Cena?
Right.
Totally makes sense.
The thing I would also wonder about is would they automatically pick who's going to be in whichever brand, or would we end up seeing maybe like a WWE draft go on again?
I would love to see a draft. But I think you would put more of the NXT, uh, graduates over on SmackDown for a little bit, and then move them over, and then maybe move them over to Raw, and put some Raw guys on SmackDown that you're used to seeing on Raw, just so people would want to watch SmackDown. That I don't know, maybe put Cesaro over on SmackDown, and put Kevin Owens, or no, put Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens over on SmackDown, and then that way people will want to see the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feud on SmackDown. They'd also watch the other SmackDown matches, and then keep the Raw matches. Pull some people over that are primarily on SmackDown and put them on the Raw matches and whatnot. Then move Raw to 2 hours because the 3 hour Raw would be pointless if you have
Exactly.
that limited roster that you would get after splitting the brands up. So then you would move back to 2 hours for both shows, and they're both on the USA Network now, so they could do a bunch of promos against each other because they're on the same network, and they wouldn't have to worry about the networks fighting against each other or whatnot. So I think, and then have John Cena be the head of Raw and or be the face of Raw, and then have Randy Orton be the face of SmackDown or whoever's the champion at that point, and then call it good.
I think too. I think that a big thing that really could play a huge factor if they did do the brand split, you know, you got Survivor Series that'll be coming up later on in the year. And if you have the brand split, you can have Raw versus SmackDown. And I think that really the prime GMs for both of the organizations, if you have Shane McMahon on the Raw side and Stephanie McMahon Triple H is the authority over on the SmackDown side, I think that would really fit really well for being able to put teams together as Survivor Series because we've ended up having the Authority versus Team John Cena. We've ended up having Theodore Long versus John Laurinaitis. It's like that general manager face of the company kind of thing versus other general manager face of the company. And I think that really with this whole lead up of Shane McMahon wanting to run Monday Night Raw, they've now got him in the Monday Night Raw general manager position for the past 2 weeks. I think that if you have the Authority then come back for SmackDown, I think that that would be a great feud and that could set us up for a good Survivor Series if we have the brand split.
And not only that, but it will also fix your pay-per-view problems of kind of being sucktastic. You would have the brand split again, which means each brand gets their own pay-per-view again. So you would have, say, Payback would be a Raw pay-per-view, and then Extreme Rules would be a SmackDown pay-per-view, and then you could extend your storytelling over 2 months instead of 1 month for each brand, and that would fix your stupid rushed pay-per-views. That it's another quarrel I have with WWE is that they have way too many pay-per-views for the current state that the brands are in right now.
You mean when they have like 2 pay-per-views a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they had 13 pay-per-views last year. That seriously? And where did Roadblock? Roadblock was the most pointless pay-per-view I've seen ever. It was so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, but you had Extreme Rules come out, or not Extreme Rules, but Elimination Chamber come out of their butt last year. They're like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have a random Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's gonna be in Corpus Christi, Texas, of all the places to put an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
Home of the
That
Bonnie Brothers.
2 weeks after another pay-per-view already ended, and you just announced that we're gonna have an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It's like, I just got done feuding with somebody. Who's next to battle me in 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks later. Oh, by the way, you're going to be defending your championship in Elimination Chamber against who? People you've never fought or feuded with before.
But I mean,
that could have been just a way to get people to subscribe to the network, because that's the only way you're gonna
It probably was.
It was stupid.
And the one thing I'm liking right now, and I was really hoping. I mean, okay, the Kevin Owens Cesaro match was good, but I really am enjoying when they came out of the box and they end up having The Miz versus Zack Ryder on a Monday Night Raw battle for the title, and the title switched hands. You know, we don't really get to see the title on the line during regular Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. I actually really hope that they come back to doing that kind of a thing, because if you think back to the Attitude Era, just about every single week you ended up having at least one of the lower titles, whether it be a hardcore title, a U.S. title match, they end up being on the line. And I think, Kyle, your mic's passing out. But you had at least one of those titles usually on the line. Not always was there a title swap, but you at least had it defended. And I'm hoping that they're going to do that again with not necessarily the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but with the smaller championships, though.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry about the technical difficulty there.
No, that's okay. But I mean, I don't care for them waiting for the pay-per-views all the time to have a title match for everything.
yeah, that's definitely something that I wish they would change.
It's like, come on, WWE, surprise me for once.
Yeah, hey, let's have a WWE Championship match on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And actually change the title. What? That's crazy talk. It'll never work. Nobody will ever watch the pay-per-views ever again. Our pay-per-view ratings have gone up, sir. They actually want to see what happens. Oh, by the way, our SmackDown ratings have gone up, and the brand is going to split because of this, and they want to see the WWE Championship on SmackDown instead of Raw. You mean we're making more money off of this boneheaded decision that went against what Vince McMahon wanted? Yes, sir. Who
You
came
mean
up with
you
this?
mean Triple H
Some
made a
fan.
you mean Triple H made a good decision?
Yeah!
3 fans in a YouTube video. That's what we saw, and like,
Yep.
well, these guys have some good ideas.
WWE, do it better.
Uh.
Challenge issued.
Oh man! All right, so that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. I'd like to thank Anthony and Kyle for joining me for this, guys. Great input, and glad to have you guys on here for this one.
No problem.
It was awesome. I always enjoy being on these talk shows.
All right, so possibly the next one that will come out will be the SmackDown summary. I didn't do a SmackDown summary last week because the SmackDown, quite honestly, wasn't worth reviewing. We'll see about maybe this week with there being #1 contendership for the tag team title tournament matches going on. Maybe
This SmackDown sucks.
that's yeah. Read the fine print. Anthony read the fine print. Okay, so that'll possibly be the next video. If not, then we'll have another Raw review next week. So also be sure to subscribe to these two guys. I'll put the links to their channels down in the description. Head over and check out their channels as well. And anything you guys want to say before I end the episode off?
Not really. That's
Make Roman Reigns lose to AJ Styles, please. I know Vince McMahon hates TNA, but Vince, please, just don't hate TNA for this one match.
What is that?
What is that? Make Roman Reigns heel and AJ Styles heel, and have two heels go at it for the title.
And
Well,
don't hate TNA for this one feud, please.
All right. See you later, everybody.
See ya.